finishing Surah al-Sajdah, inshallah, today. And as usual, Dr. Yamina will be leading us. And as usual, you're welcome to join in with your comments and questions. Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah everyone is well and it's an opportunity and a time for lots of istighfar and lots of praying, inshallah. So this is our 19th week and inshallah also the final week with Surah al-Sajdah, the prostration, which is Surah 32. And we had stopped at Ayah 27. We did actually discuss and we'll just wrap up whatever we have to share, inshallah, of Ayah 27. And in Ayah 27, we are told, aren't they aware, which is literally, haven't they seen, awalam yarau, sorry, that it is we who drive the rain to barren land and thereby bring forth vegetation from which their cattle and they themselves eat. Do they not see? أَفَلَا يُبْصِرُونَ. And we did start talking about last week about how when we truly looking here means looking carefully and reflecting on what we see. When we look around us this way, we realize that something miraculous is going on when it's raining, for instance. And of course, the emphasis here is the considering, the being aware. Aren't they aware? Haven't they considered? Because we may not have considered it, but here it's an invitation to do something new, because this is a new way of being, a new way of perceiving the world. And that's why we need divine guidance. It's not something we can fathom or find out on our own, just sitting and reflecting and, oh, that's, now I got it. It's not something like this. This is a perception that is totally, we're unable to find it on our own, yet it is so fitri, it is so natural, it fits because it is the truth, it fits our fitra, the way of being, it fits how we relate to the world in such a beautiful way and harmonious way that it just, once we learn it, we just confirm it. Yes, this is it. This is the truth. And we already have been created with a sense of feeling that something is miraculous is going on. We do lose that sense when we grow up because we don't listen to it anymore. It's not like it's not there, but we are not paying attention to it. But small children, when they see something, like if you see the rain the first time or something growing the first time, kids get very excited because it's something very miraculous going on. So here it's an invitation to ponder and reflect on the process of rain. And through that process, we will discover within ourselves an awe and an amazement that we were not even aware of because we didn't pay attention to it, we didn't stay with it. So it's time to listen to the signs in the Quran, and the signs in the Quran are inviting us to look at the signs in the creation. And while we are interacting with the signs in the creation, we will find out that the signs within us are also being sent at the same time. And so we will be able to, inshallah, confirm the message of the Quran, the message of the creation, in this case, the process of rain. And it's a process because the ayah is clearly talking about, saying that we drive the rain to barren land. So, and someone I think last week had mentioned that if there is a driving, it means of water, it is an allusion to the motion of clouds moving around, taking the water from one place to another, and thereby bringing forth vegetation. So here there are two things going on: the process of the rain, and then water coming into the soil and the vegetation coming back to life. So there are many things going on here. And from the outset, we can acknowledge that this is an important area, an important sign, because we do take it for granted. We say water and that's it. But it doesn't take long to reflect and imagine. We can just close our eyes. Imagine there is no water. You don't have to close your eyes. But like, just imagine you're in a place and there is no water. We can survive maybe with no food or little food, but no water is really, really, really difficult to imagine. Life would be really hard, unbearable. There will be life if we have a little water, but if there is no water, that's it, forget about it. There's no life anymore. So water is something that we take for granted, but it's something very precious. It's a precious blessing of God. And together with water here is the food, because food is, all kinds of food are mostly made of water, but like without water, we won't be able to grow anything. So our nutrition, our nourishment is mentioned in this area. The source of our, the means, let's say, of our nourishment in this world. So let's reflect. So here we told rain comes down from the clouds. This is what we all know. And then it reaches lands that are very far, lands that are far from the sea, from lakes, from river, from water. And these clouds, they are actually like mountains. They are mountains of water. They are very heavy, subhanallah, but they are being transported, going around in the skies and reaching lands that need water. Like, it's, we can't fathom and think of another way of reaching out to those lands. There are many lands that, were it not for rain, water won't go there. Even the rivers and the lakes there would dry. So lots of the vegetation is a gift, a blessing that is given to us together with the gift of water, and especially rain, because rain is not just water, but is water that is being transported in a miraculous way. In Surah Al-Fatir, in Surah 35, Ayah 9, we are told it is God who sends forth the winds so that they raise up the clouds, whereupon we drive them towards dead land, and with them we give life to the earth after its death. Such will be the resurrection. So we are told that these clouds are going up like this by means of winds, and it is God who sends winds, because what is wind except motion of air? How can air move? How do we move? How does anything move? How does an atom move? No one knows. If we look at it without without considering anything outside the world, within the creation, there is no explanation. Things are in constant motion. But if they were, as we are told in another passage in the Quran, if they were to stop, everything would crumble. And it is true. There would be nothing will exist if there were no motion. And so I am not going to go into the detail of this ayah, but whatever we are using for 27, we can use for any of these ayahs. It means if we are told it is God who sent forth the wind so that they rise up the cloud, it means it is possible to make the shahada, to observe this and witness that truly, if it is God making it, it means it is not the things that we think are making it, because they cannot make it. Because air or anything in the creation is a created being. It is itself in need of being sustained. It is itself being created, and therefore it has no power, no knowledge, no awareness, no compassion, nothing to decide, no will, nothing to be able to do what we ascribe to it when we are not thinking, when we are not mindfully reflecting, when we just take things for granted. And so these are all ayats, the way in ayat 27 we're told, it is God who drives the rain to barren land, is an invitation to consider what we thought was driving the rain. Most probably we didn't think about it. It seems like the rain itself is going. And if we're pressed, we say, oh, how is it going? It's the winds. So that's why I chose this ayah. It says, okay, and so the winds, how do they know? Do they have power? Do they have knowledge? How can you assume something like this without even questioning it? So it is a tarbiyah, a training in questioning our assumptions about the world that we never, and our beliefs that were never questioned. And interestingly, also at the end, we are told such will be the resurrection. Look, so that's an ayah not only to, it is an ayah to the power of God, to the knowledge of God, to various beautiful names of God. And once we know God and we witness how he sends the winds and by means of those winds makes the clouds raise, and through with that drives the rain from land, from place to place, and so that it reaches barren land, we can then have certainty and witness and have certainty that yes, he gives life to dead land. So why can't he give life to dead people? And of course, this is only one step, because there are many steps until it's not just he can give, he does give. The me yesterday and the me cannot make the me today. The me yesterday needs 100% being sustained in existence, and so is the me today, and so is the me in 10 minutes later. So this, my continuation in existence, my sustain, I'm being sustained. So the one who is keeping me in existence the one who is creating us as adults when we were babies and then children, small toddlers and then children, and then is the one who will create you in another form, in another realm. So it is a process of reflecting, confirming, observing, confirming. And this is reflecting means not only observing and thinking, but it's also there is an element of internalizing, because we need to acknowledge the awe, the amazingness. That's what is going to make us confirm that this is an indication to something beyond, something that is not, cannot be found within blind matter, unconscious blind things. And so it is because I think I did mention it last week, when we are told it is God who sends the rain, it is God who sends forth the wind, so they raise up the clouds, then we need to be honest and not just say, I'm a Muslim, of course God sends the... No, I am a human being, and before I hear this in the Quran, I truly hear it and truly taking seriously, because I might have recited it many times without thinking about it. But when we truly take it seriously, I ask myself, when I see the rain, or when I see the winds, and then the clouds raising, we see the clouds raising all the time these days, right? Do I feel, because the heart, Iman is in the heart, and it's a matter of perception. It has to be confirmed as feeling, not as memorized words. The memorized word can be a reminder, but we have to do the work, so that it will become my feeling, and I am certain about it, and I have no doubt. It is my belief, my Iman. There's no doubt about it. Does it feel to me that God is doing it? Or does it feel like, no, I see the clouds are going up? If you press me, yes, because of the winds, I would say. Then I will, if I'm sincerely trying to follow the guidance of the Quran, and say, but this feeling doesn't fit what the Quran is saying. Is it true? Which one is true? So I will ask myself, can the clouds or can the winds truly control such wise system? Can they do anything? What are these clouds that I'm ascribing to them purposeful action that needs knowledge, that needs knowledge and power and purpose. Forget about generosity and compassion and everything.
Dr. Yamina, I think if I kind of jump in here, I think the challenge is we don't actually see purpose, because we are looking at the micro, like very kind of zooming in on the wind. So wind is blowing and then the clouds are moving. So then we don't necessarily think that wind is doing this purposefully. We're just thinking, it's just, pushing things around, and they go here, they go there.
Even if you take it that way, because I see what you mean. That's why in the beginning we started with everything being a blessing, that rain being a blessing, so there is purpose. But even before we truly can become aware of the purpose in everything, and not only the overall system, but in every action, still there needs to be power, there needs to be knowledge, because it's not happening haphazardly. Right? Don't you think so?
I mean, I think you're maybe referring to the laws of physics.
Not necessarily the laws. Yes, in fact, there are laws, but we may not be aware of laws. Just superficially, the fact that if the clouds are going up, if the winds are blowing and the clouds are going up, it is serving a purpose. But I'm not even emphasizing the purpose at this stage. I'm saying, even with what power is this going? Why is the wind blowing up and not blowing them down so they will never be able to move, for instance? We just take it for granted that wind means blows up. They could blow in another direction.
Yamina?
Yes.
Like I concur with Isra. I think we get so used to not thinking about things at all. Like even now, like I'm just like what the Quran is trying to do is to make us aware. If you look at, I'm just gonna do a very quick analogy. Like, you know, now people are saying, oh, be aware, think about when you press the elevator button where you've pressed, there could be someone else that pressed it, and this surface could be holding something. When you do this, beware. So like a big part of this, like, you know, of what public health education is trying to do to people is to make them aware of things that they don't think about. Quran, of course, yani Rabbil Alameen from the beginning is saying, like, you know, think about everything that you do, like everything has a purpose behind everything. You cannot take things lightly as a human being. You've created with the ability to look into the deeper meaning of things. So where Isra is saying is where we are, like, if like where we are as Muslims, like, you know, where we are Muslims, where we're not thinking that the wind is the cause of things or the clouds, but we're not thinking at all. Maybe someone else who's a Scientologist, they'll be thinking, oh, gratitude to the wind and gratitude to Mother Nature. So, and the Quran is saying, you know, you need to think. Like, first of all, you need to think. You need to think about everything you see. You cannot just pass by it and not think. So, so I guess as we are trying to think about everything now that we don't see, for, you know, to have taqwa or awareness of, like, you know, of what we are worried about, I think this is a good time for us to actually think about everything that, you know, that the whole creation is meant to tell us. So Jazakallah khair for helping us on that route. And thank you, Isra, for bringing this up.
Isra hasn't finished her point, I think. Isra? You had a point. I think it's also last week where you talked about zooming out and seeing the earth.
You know, the verse brings out the purposefulness, kind of the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of helpful, because then we can get lost in the moment. And that's one of the tricks, I think, if you want to call it a trick, I'm just choosing as a shorthand, that we fall into in our science education or in our everyday common sense talk. We are just looking at the thing right then and then and not seeing it where this is going. So how can we buy into
the idea? Science is reductionist.
So how can we buy into this idea that things just are happening? Because the way it's being taught to us, or the way we talk about it, is kind of piecemeal. So this evaporated, it went up,
as if it's not related to the next step.
Yeah, but it, you know, and then it condenses, and then it becomes drops, and then it falls down. All of these, as if they're disconnected. But if you look at the bigger picture, you know, the Quran is saying, you know, we to a barren land, which means it will come back to life with green and you know, plants, and then you will be able to eat from it, and your animals will eat from it as well. So then in that bigger zone picture, as you know, Imam Nursi emphasizes, it says, you know, the Quran is bringing the purpose into focus, so that you can see that, well, wait a second, I can't say that this water just met some hot weather and it started evaporating just like that, you know, nothing big, just something just happens. You can't say that, because that evaporation is for the purpose of it becoming a rain. It's in a kind of,
let's put it this way: if you take that away, there will be no life on Earth.
You are kind of challenging us to kind of, even in that, you know, in that moment, like how come this molecule is transitioning from being liquid into being vapor?
Yeah.
How come this wind is able to bring the cloud from one place to another? Like you were saying, even in the micro level, you can be amazed. I was just saying that maybe like the micro level is harder in the beginning for us, because
Yeah.
it's like it just pushed and it went. But the larger picture
Reminds us of the purpose again.
you know, yeah, it's
As
like
zoom out and in. You mean?
yeah, zooming out can be helpful in that sense. And then I think like, you know, if when somebody is cooking, right, you know, you're watching a cooking show, the person says, well, I put this, and then it becomes a beautiful kind of meal, and then puts it on a table and, like, you know, enjoy. But if somebody really zoomed in, and then the spoon moved from this end of the pan to the other end, it looks like it's random, it's just going back and forth, but it's actually not going back and forth. If you zoom out and realize, well, this is onion being sauteed so that, you know, the beef could be put in, and then so that this could be done. So yeah, I just want to highlight, I didn't want to undo what you're saying, it's just that maybe connected the two together so it's easier.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So once whether we zoom out and in, or you can zoom in directly, probably always, if you read the ayah, it's talking about the bigger picture first. So there is the purpose of the water being sent to barren land, and with it there is food coming for all living beings, is emphasized in the beginning. Then, because in the beginning that's not how we perceive things, then we go back and question ourselves. Can the clouds do this? Can the winds do this? Do they have any quality that can perform any of the things we are ascribing to them? Can they decide? Do they have the power? Can they decide where to go, what to do, how to do it? Do they have any power, any knowledge, how can they interact with the rest of the creation? Or, as we are told in the Quran, in Surah Al-A'raf, do they have eyes with which to see? We're told this explicitly in the Quran. Do they have feet with which to walk? Can they think? Do they have hands with which to grab and do things? Of course, it's metaphorical. Can they think? Can they plan? Can they know what's going on? Do they have, if you keep in mind the final purpose, which is to feed living beings, including human beings, then you would say, do they have mercy? Do they have compassion for living beings that are in need of water and of food? So obviously, they don't have anything like that. Obviously, they are acting at the command of one who has those qualities. Can water give life? Can lifeless, unconscious, powerless water give life? Can it go and decide to be vapor now? You need knowledge and power and lots of things to be able to do that. And then go and fly to another land and be useful there. So obviously they are acting at the command of one who has control over everything. He has power over everything. He is the one who gives life by means of lifeless water and lifeless, raises the clouds and the winds and everything, as we are told in, was it in ayah 5 or Yudabbiru al-Amr? It was, I think, in ayah 4 or 5 or something at the beginning. He it is who has control over everything, because he alone has the power of be and it is. And of course, we did previously follow this, and from what we see, we conclude that they are signs, they are ayat. When we go in the creation, they are ayat pointing to power, knowledge, and life. For instance, lifeless water comes into the soil, life comes out. Obviously, the whole process is an ayah to a giving of life. And the source of life is obviously not within the things themselves. The agent is not the created thing. And then we are told that this water is going to barren land, Juruza, which means a land cut off from water. The verb jaras means to cut off, to chop off. And it's cut off from water, therefore cut off from life, from vegetation. And it is to emphasize that without the water being sent, there would be no vegetation and no life. And also the verb used is nasuqu al-ma'a. We drive the water. It's a very active verb. We are driving. And this is an indication to the so-called water cycle, because water doesn't just find itself in the cloud. As Isra has mentioned, there is an evaporation and this and that, all those things, whether we know the details or not, but the more we know the details, the more miraculous it is, the more we see the power and the knowledge and the wisdom involved in that driving of the water from one place to another through the clouds, because water is something very heavy, and then suddenly it becomes vapor, and then it can fly, it can evaporate from the surface of the earth and rises by means of winds, and the motion of the air is made to move it up into the atmosphere, and then it cools and condenses into rain, but into droplets, not or snow, or like kind of precipitation, not into like a huge buckets of water that will destroy the world. And so it falls again as rain, as snow, as a kind of precipitation, which is again rahmah. There is beauty, there is rahmah in it, there is wisdom in it, there is purpose in it. But often, unless if we were not asked to consider this process, we take it for granted. But the closer we look, the more we will see that this is a series of miracles of divine power. Subhanallah, it's just amazing. And the more you actually stay there, the more you feel overwhelmed with awe and amazement. And that's what we need to, so there is a part that we can do together, the reflecting, the steps of the reflection that the Quran teaches us. But then at the end, to be able to say, oh, I see here divine power, divine, I need to listen to the heart. And if we follow the steps properly, we will feel, and if we are patient, we will feel overwhelmed with awe at the beauty, the power, of the miracles that are going on, and that we usually take for granted. We don't even stop and think about it. We may even think, oh, it's raining again, like I can't go out, or I have to take an umbrella or something like that. So it's really something like, think of it like water, a liquid, a heavy liquid. And so normally, if we were, we would expect it to stay on the land, maybe in ditches, to go under the land maybe, but because it's liquid, you expect it to go down in the depth of the ground, but we wouldn't expect it to go up to the skies. Yes, yet it goes up to the skies, and we don't think about it. So here we are invited to look at how water miraculously, through divine command, loses its liquid nature and changes into something new. The molecules have a new, whatever you call it, construction or something. They are not as tied to each other. And then miraculously, it goes up into the wind blows and it takes it up to form clouds. Why would it form clouds? Why wouldn't the droplets go everywhere? Like in some places, you will find droplets everywhere. It's very humid, and that's it. No, but it forms clouds. There is no reason for it to form clouds. And those clouds, each one, they are like huge mountains of water vapor. And this is sweet water in the sky. Isn't that like an amazing way of watering the land, the earth? And again, by divine command, the winds are made to drive the clouds to lands that otherwise would remain dry and barren forever. It would be very difficult to get water there. So if rain was not made to travel in this miraculous way, then a great deal of land would not receive a drop of water. And even if we supposed that there were some rivers full of water, they might not flow over those lands. And here we are told all kinds of vegetation, zara, is made to grow. Crops, forests, zara means everything, all kinds of plants. Subhanallah, this is an amazing, the amazing power of irrigation through rain. And the word cattle here is mentioned in this verse before the people. We're told it is we who drive the rain to barren land and thereby bring forth vegetation for which their cattle and they themselves eat. And it could be because it's been said, because the cattle feed entirely from plant, while people feed on both plant and the cattle. Or it could be because as soon as plants grow, they are fit for the use of cattle, whereas human beings, we eat some things raw, and for even the raw ones, we have to wait until they are ripe. And many we cook. So in this area, we are told that water, especially in the form of rain, is a clear sign, a clear evidence, a clear ayah to rububiyyah activity, to creativity. It's an ayah to many beautiful names of God, such as power, purpose, knowledge, wisdom, compassion, mercy, giving of life, nourisher, provider, and beautiful, lots of different names. And we're repeatedly told in the Quran to consider the rain. This is not the only passage. There are hundreds of them. When it comes to barren land, and many times we are told it comes to barren land, and lo and behold, it is alive again by God's command. So that's an ayah to divine power And divine power is important, especially in the case of this people who, the disbelievers or the not true believers, they think they believe, but they actually believe only with shirk, because they give efficiency to things themselves. They think that the rain itself is coming, so thanks to the rain, to the water, we have water to drink and food to eat and things like that. So they are not aware that there is only one source of everything, one source of providing, one source of nourishment, and that's God and nothing else. Everything else are themselves being created. God gives life by means of lifeless water. And if we are not if we're not careful, it seems like water is giving life. And that's why in the Quran we are told, be careful, how can something that doesn't have life give life? And this reasoning can be applied to everything else. And as long as we do not follow this reasoning and confirm and observe and confirm and make the shahada that truly the one who gives life with water is someone, the giver of life. This giver of life is not part of the creation. The giving of life through, by means of lifeless water, is an indication to the source of life, the source of giving life. And unless we do this shahada, we cannot be true believer in God. We won't know him with his beautiful names of God. In this case, for instance, the giver of life, the only giver of life. And even if we claim that we believe in God because we don't deny his existence, we would be committing shirk, meaning believing in partners with him. In this case, water would be like a partner, although we don't claim it that way, but we would be ascribing to it the power to give life. Power gives life, but of course, God created the water. There is no such reasoning in the Quran. So where did that God come from? If water gives life, there is no God anymore, because you can't make shahada now. You are just assuming that there must be a God. Of course, because deep down, something in us knows that this lifeless water can't do anything. But unless we consciously, mindfully say, no, it does not and cannot give life, it is itself lifeless. Therefore, who is giving life through water? Unless we ask that question, we will never truly know God. We will never truly believe in God. We will never worship God alone. We will be always stuck in shirk. And this applies not only to water, but to anything that seems somehow efficient in some way. It seems like having some effects. The moment we become mindful and ask the questions as we are taught in the Quran, it's like putting torch light into a dark corner, and suddenly you see that what we thought was a source of something is actually only an ayah. And then that ayah is reflecting the names of God. What we see in the mirror are the names of God. They don't belong to the mirror itself. And so there is no need to glorify the mirror. We glorify God together by means of the mirror. We get to know him by means of the mirror. In Surah 41, Ayah 39, we are told, among his signs, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ, from among his ayat is this: you see the earth lying desolate, but then we, God, send water down onto it. These are not easy. We read them, but like, do we see God sending? Of course, we won't see God sending, but the sending, we will see it as coming from God, because the sending is an ayah indicating that it is coming from a source beyond. And it is the source of giving life, the source of power, the source of knowing, the source of purpose, the source of mercy, generosity, compassion, nourishing everything. And that we call God, because that's what we are taught. So it says, among his signs is this. So you see, what we are seeing are the signs, not as when we are in ghafla, when we are unconscious of what's going on, we just take it for granted, piecemeal here and there, and it seems like things are happening on their own, they are doing it. Where is God in all this? You see the earth lying desolate, but when God sends water down onto it, it stirs and grows. Truly, he, God, he who brings it to life, will certainly give life to the dead. He has power over everything. This is a sign, says, look at the sign. Truly, those who distort the meaning of our signs, because they don't see them as signs, they're stuck in them, they think they are doing it themselves, are not hidden from us, from God. Which of the two is better? He who is cast into the fire, or he who comes through safely on the day of resurrection? Do whatever you want. God certainly sees everything you do. And in Surah 46, ayah 33, we are told, do the disbelievers not see that God, who has created the heavens and the earth and is never worried by their creation, has the power to bring the dead back to life? Yes, indeed, he has the power over everything. So in order to acknowledge that truly God has power over everything, one example is that don't you see, so don't the disbelievers see? It means the believers do see that it is God who is creating the heavens and the earth. Right now, we don't have to even go to the heavens and the earth. Just look at our own creation and we'll see that we are being created right now. We are being sustained right now. Another even, and of course, each time it says, okay, that same one, he's the one who will create everything again. He has the power to bring the dead back to life. How can you have doubt about this? Another even more direct evidence to resurrection is how we go to sleep, and when we're made to wake up again. Subhanallah, this is like an ayah. Sometimes we want to resist, we have to do some work or something, and sleep just takes over, and then we don't know how we wake up. It's not like I decided to wake up, or because the alarm. Sometimes the alarm is, I sometimes when I'm tired, I have to put, I don't know, 6 alarms, because I can't trust myself, because either I don't hear it at all, or I hear it in my dream. In my dream, it seems like there is an alarm going on, and I carry on sleeping. So it means it's not me who decides. Yeah, there is, the body has a biological clock. If you are used to, Allah makes it easy to wake up at that particular time and everything. But even when we travel to another place, things are all upside down, we realize that it's not me who decides, because I'm asleep. When I'm asleep, I don't decide anything. We are made to wake up. So in ayah 42 of Surah 39, we're told, it is God who takes the souls of the dead and the souls of the living during their sleep. He keeps hold of those whose death he has ordained. That's it. Their souls is being taken and they won't come back. and sends the others back until their appointed time. Those who have not are not dead yet, it's not their time, their ajal yet, then their souls are sent back until their appointed time. Truly, in all these, there are signs for those who reflect. إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. So after all this teaching and guidance, what do these people do? So remember this, there are the true believers and there are the disbelievers, or those who are not true believers, who just don't deny. Now, and each time there is a series of ayat given to them to reflect. And right after this 27, reflecting on the process of rain, how it is taken by means of the cloud from one place to another, and how the barren land is given life again, and how from that food is being provided for the people and their cattle, for living beings, pretty much. After all this teaching, after all this guidance, what do these people do? We are told in 28, 29, 30, but they answer, when will that final decision take place if what you say is true? 29 say, on the day of the final decision, their belief will not benefit those who disbelieved, nor will they be granted respite. 30, then turn away from them and wait. They, behold, are waiting. The word used here, I said decision, it's been translated as decision, victory, all kinds of different words. It's actually الفتح ويقولون متى هذا الفتح إن كنتم صادقين قل يوم الفتح لا ينفع الذين كفروا إيمانهم ولا هم ينظرون فاعرض عليهم وانتظر إنهم منتظرون. So فتح, الفتح is from فتح, to open, but it's also when it's used in فتح بين, between someone and someone else, it could also mean to distinguish, to decide. It means that to lay open the truth, so that the truth and falsehood are split, they are opened, so it's clear. In Surah Al-Fath, for instance, it starts with Inna fatahna laka fathan mubina. It's been rendered as, truly we have opened before you a clear victory. But actually it's fatahna fathan. We have opened before you a clear opening. But often some even say conquest or something like that. But it actually means opening and decision, in the sense, as I said, of opening between truth and falsehood. So victory could be victory for the truth. Once falsehood is clear, then it is victory for the truth. But it shouldn't be understood only in like a victory of one people over others, because it's here it's an opening at all kinds of levels, inner and outer. It can be social, it includes the victory as we understand it, but it's not confined or limited to that meaning. And there is a name of God, Al-Fattah, which is used only once, I think, in the Quran, translated as not on opener is very rare. Mostly people said judge, arbiter, decider. So you see, when it comes to translation, it's really interpretation is going on here. And also God is called Ahsanul Fatihin, the best Fatih. Again, translated in the same way as Fattah, decider, judge, arbiter, but maybe opener is also a way of translating it. But I think something that will help with this ayah is in Surah Al-A'raf we are told ربنا افتح بيننا وبين قومنا بالحق وأنت خير الفاتحين. O our sustainer, lay the truth open between us and our people, for you are the best of openers. Some said decision, but decision doesn't really fit the context, because it's a prayer of I think it's Sayyidina Shu'aib alayhi salam in this ayah 89 of Surah Al-A'raf, Surah 7. And also there is another also prayer when it says فافتح بيني وبينهم فتحا ونجني ومن معي من المؤمنين. So open between me and them, the people who are persecuting him, his people who are persecuting him, and deliver me and believers and the believers who are with me. So you see this fataha, how it's used as well. It is an opening so that the truth becomes clear. And when the truth is clear, then falsehood will also, we will know falsehood for falsehood. So in 28, after all what has been, they've been invited to reflect. What do they say? They say, when will that final fath, when will that find an opening, when the truth will take place, when everything will be clear, if what you say is true? You hear the Prophet ﷺ or the believers. Remember who these people are, and also they how they were offered many evidence for guidance and for food for reflecting, but they were also previous ayat verses where the guilty were warned of hellfire and the true believers were given good news about akhirah. In ayah 14, for instance, it was saying, taste the punishment for your having forgotten the meeting with this your day. Truly, we have forgotten you. Taste then the lasting suffering for what you used to do. And in 20 also, it says, but as for those who transgress, their home is the fire. Whenever they want to come out of it, they are returned back into it, and they are told, taste the torment of the fire which you used to deny. So there was not only evidences and invitations to reflect, but also there were warning that if you follow in the path that you are following, this path leads to fire, to torment, to punishment, to something you won't like. And for the true believers, we were told, no soul knows what joy and delight is kept hidden for them as a reward for what they used to do. As for those who believe and do righteous deeds, they have gardens of rest waiting for them as a reward for what they used to do. So there were also good news and blessings and delight and paradise promised to the true believers. So saying like, if you follow the guidance of, if you reflect on this, on the creation as you are taught here, and you follow this path of guidance, like check it for yourself first, and you will find out that this path leads to lots of blessings and joy and delight. And And even like we were told for the true believers in 24, those who were patient and certain of God's signs, God's ayat, they were appointed as leaders by divine command, because lots of people are after being leaders and says, oh, we will appoint you. Just this is the way to be appointed. But of course, if you follow the path of the ego, this is not an attractive path. Of course, because it's like someone who is feeding on junk all the time, so doesn't appreciate natural food and fruits and everything. But once you leave the junk food, you start slowly, as you wean yourselves from junk, slowly, you start appreciating foods and vegetables and fruits and things. And then when you go back to, from time to time, to the junk food, you say, why, or how did I used to even like this? I was even like addicted to these things, and now they all taste like fake and like there are chemicals in them, and you start, your taste itself changes. So this is something like that. When we live from the ego, we cannot appreciate this path. We have to try it first. And in order to help us, there is the warning that in this path, there is lots of delight and joy. All the things you are spending all your time and efforts for, they are in this path. We will give them to you. If you follow the path, there will be a side effect as if. But if you insist on following the path of the ego, in this case, because shirk is an outcome of that, then this will take you to misery in this life, and even much worse, darkness and meaninglessness and purposelessness in this life, and hellfire, the lack of everything, the regret of having wasted a life and not having a way back to it. Remember, there were those actors, they wanted to come back, but there was no way, because you have to cultivate yourself and get rid of that ego. It's a process of surrendering. It's not just, it doesn't happen overnight. So after all this, they come and say, where is that opening, that fath, that victory that you're talking about? Can you see this is not truly a question. And he's saying, if you are truly, if you are in kuntum sadiqin, if you are truthful, you can see that they are not really asking a question. This is an indication that they are unwilling to accept the reality and at least the possibility of surrendering to God. They don't even want to check if it is true or not. They say, when is it? We want to see it. When you see it, it's too late. And that's why the answer comes immediately after in ayah 21, and we are told, say, on the day of the fath, that they are of the final decision, the victory, the opening, where the truth is clear, their belief will not benefit those who disbelieved, nor will they be granted respite. So from one perspective, it may seem like ayah 29 is not a direct answer to that question. They are saying, when is it? There's no date given. But actually it is an answer, because it's saying, if you're waiting for the final day to make the decision to believe, it would be too late. Why would it be too late? Because that won't be iman, that won't be belief. That day, the truth will be clear, it will be open. And so you won't be able to avoid the fact. That's not iman, that's like being It will confront you. It will be in your face. You won't be able to make up things. Falsehood will be clearly falsehood. You won't be able to deceive yourself or anyone. So don't deceive yourself and reflect seriously about the situation right here and now, not then. Then it will be too late. And so far, we've been given enough evidences, even if we take this surah on its own, from the world, evidence from the world, the creation, to establish that truly there is a Rabb, that we have, God is in charge, in control of everything, in control of all existence, all being, including ourselves, and that we are indeed being sustained right here and now. It doesn't take very much, lots of time and reflection to realize this. It's just we resist when we don't have the intention to accept this reality. It's a fact. This is a fact that none of us sustain itself. None of us has control over our own life and existence. So this is saying, like, if you are truthful, then you would start right here and now by sincerely following the guidance, the evidence mentioned earlier, for instance, in Ayah 27, and earlier also from Ayah 2 or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Remember, it was also about the creation of the human being, the soul, the body, and everything. And so he says, follow the evidence and find out if it's true or not. Because if you wait for that day, then it will be too late. And that fate won't benefit you, it says, because in fact, that is not faith. That is not iman. That's being faced with the fact. In Surah Al-Baqarah, we are told, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ المتقين are those, the God conscious are those who believe in the unseen, because belief, iman, needs to be cultivated here and now, not when things are in the open. And as we go through daily life, it's a process. Iman is a process of surrendering to the reality. Before we surrender to God, before we know God with his beautiful name, we have to start surrendering to the fact that I am being made, or I am at least not in control. I'm not in charge of anything. I cannot, what I call my life, my body, they are not really truly mine, in the sense that I don't make them, I don't control them. They keep changing. We grow older. We can't stop our life. We can't stop death. I can't make myself breathe whenever I want. So it's a process of accepting, surrendering, accepting the facts, surrendering to our reality here and now. And the more we surrender to the reality, the more it will be easier to follow the guidance of the Quran. And because the ego will start melting down, because the ego is what has all false claims and false belief. I do, I know, and that's what makes us resist. And when we start accepting the reality, it becomes easier to act on it. It becomes easier to know God as our Rabb, because the more I accept myself as Abd, the more I will find Rububiyyah in the mirror of my own Ubudiyyah, my own dependence. Total dependence is a mirror reflecting the beautiful names of my Rabb. So it is a process of cultivating of the true self, which is that abd within us, that ruh within us, not the false I that claims rububiyyah for itself, that claims to be a little Rabb for itself. The abd knows that it is conscious and accepts that it is totally dependent on its Rabb. The abd is in a state of prostration, not only all physically, but metaphorically, always in a state of prostration before his Rabb. So it's a cultivation in knowing who God is as our Rabb. God is my Rabb. If I can't connect these two, then there will be shirk. God will be out there and I am doing everything. I cook my food, water grows the plants, the clouds, the wind drives the cloud up, and the clouds go and water the land. And it will be all like that because we see the world in our own mirror. We project our own self-perception onto the world. And so this is the way to get to know God as our Rabb, knowing him with his beautiful names. And then we can start trusting him, surrendering to his will, because we will be able to see the beautiful names in events, most events and things happening around us. So we'll see purpose and meaning in things. It'll be easier to trust, easier to surrender to his will, to be patient in adversity, in hardship. And we will be doing all this. We will do all this through following, by means of following his precious guidance. We will then be able to appreciate, to taste how precious divine guidance is in the Quran and therefore in the creation, in life. Because it is through that guidance that, without that guidance, let's say, we'll be lost in this transient world, which in disconnection with the Creator would be meaningless. It's meaningful, yet when you think about it, if it has no true purpose, no true future, it becomes meaningless in its meaningfulness. Isn't that like strange? Without divine guidance, the world would be a very strange place, and that's why people prefer not to reflect on the nature of the world, on its transience, because it is painful. The separation from everything is painful. The darkness of the future, of death, will be something dreadful. So you see how the believer who follows this guidance knows, appreciates how precious it is, how meaningful it is. And there will be lots of gratitude, because this divine guidance is what shows us the path to eternal joy, to eternal peace, to fulfillment and peace in this world and in the next. What everything is after, by all means, is actually given, and it is the shortest path, the easiest path. So on the day of opening between the truth and falsehood, on that day of clarity, Yawm al-Fath, that these people are saying, when is that Yawm al-Fath? And here is saying it will be too late. And even if you believe on that day, that's not belief, it won't benefit you. Because on that day, not only the truth and falsehood will become clear. That's why it's the day of victory of the truth. But the truth of the inner state of being of people also will be uncovered and will be clear. So the inner state of being of the guilty, of the disbelievers, will be uncovered. And so the self-deception, the illusion of the I that was making up like a whole, made up of whole cluster of false beliefs about the self and therefore the world, will all melt down, because it's just like it's an illusion. It's like a mirage. Once you get there, you see that there is no water. So they will be faced with the reality. That's why that day, belief, that's not belief, and it won't benefit anyone, because they and everyone will be able to see the truth of our true self, Is it abd or is it self illusion I? And so the guilty, the disbelievers, the hypocrites, etc., won't be able to deceive themselves anymore. And their foolish arrogance, because remember, we were told, what's this I, this self-deception? It's coming from our arrogance. And so the process of Iman, the process of Islam, surrendering and believing in God, is also a process of getting rid of our false arrogance, because that arrogance is based on false beliefs about who we are. And the more we are abd, the more, inshallah, we'll let go. The more we have to let go, to choose and decide and intend and decide and act on it, and let go of our arrogance and act as abd, so that there will be no arrogance. But those who don't do that, on that day, they're identifying with a false sense of self and refusing to acknowledge their Rabb, their sustainer, will all be brought out into the open. They will be able to see it. They won't be able to claim, I believe now, suddenly. You can't, like, suddenly, 6 years of medical school, you never went to classes or to trainings or anything. On the day of, how do you call it? When people are graduation, you say, let's say they take you on the day of graduation, you can say, I'm a doctor. You are not a doctor. You can say it as much as you want. You don't know anything about medicine. You never attended the classes, something like that. So just to emphasize again that this is not a word. Belief is not a word, but these people seem to think it's that way. Like, when on that day, then I will believe. That's you. You have not understood anything. It means clearly, and not because they don't understand it intellectually. This is a stand. This is a stand that we all can find within ourselves. That's why we understand it. We can relate, because it's not that we don't understand. It's we don't want, when we were resisting, when we are unwilling to surrender, somehow sometimes you feel like there is a knot somewhere. And that's why we need also a lot of asking for help, asking for guidance. We need lots of help. And like, I am willing, please help me. Because sometimes you feel like there is a knot, some part of me is unwilling to surrender in a particular point. Why? There is no good reason. It's just arrogance and foolishness. So now that neither good news of belief in the truth nor warnings for rejecting the truth affected them, it seems like these people, with all the good news for belief and all the warning for rejecting the truth and all the evidences on how to confirm the truth, none of it seemed to have an effect on these people. So we are told in the last ayah of this surah, Surah al-Sajdah, in ayah 30, then turn away from them and wait. Then behold, they are waiting. فَأَعْرِضْ عَنْهُمْ وَانْتَظِرْ إِنَّهُمْ مُنْتَظِرُونَ. It means they were given evidence. They were given invitations to reflect. Yet they showed that they are not interested. They are foolish people. They are arrogant people. They are not reasonable people. They are unwilling to surrender, because we remember, it is up to us, even when everything is clear, it is up to us to make the intention and choose to surrender or to not. So knowing, the first step, knowing, is necessary. but it is not sufficient, because someone may know everything, is sure, has no doubt, and doesn't want to, still chooses to leave, to not follow the right path. So we have to also be careful. That's why we need to ask for help and to keep company of those who follow the path that we want to follow. Because it's so easy to swerve, and sometimes without even realizing. And these people, they didn't even try to observe the divine signs in the creation to check if truly whatever has been said here, everything is truly making the Creator known, that truly the Creator of everything is the Rabb, the sustainer of everything here and now, and of themselves too. And so as a result, since they don't know God, even when they're talking about him, they don't know him truly. They don't know him with his beautiful names as he describes himself in the Quran. So regardless of what they may claim, they cannot truly believe in him, even when they may not deny the existence of God, but when they think they are believing in God, they are not truly believing in him, because they don't know him. They don't know him as the only giver of life, the one who gives life by means of water. Water has no effect and no role. It plays no role in giving of life, in the giving of life. It is a sign. Because of its lifelessness, it is telling us, actually, look how the giver of life, how God is giving life through me. If there was no water and water was not lifeless, I wouldn't know that God is the giver of life. But unless we follow this reasoning, this reflecting, and not only intellectually, but through the heart, I have to again and again be familiar with the feelings of awe, because it is when the heart feels the awe, then anytime I see, I water the plant and it grows, the awe will come again, and I will be in a state of sajdah, in a state of prostration before this miracle. I would be able to witness the miracle. But if I follow the steps only intellectually, then when I interact with the world, the heart will still be stuck to the water, to the money, to the power, to the beauty, to the status, and the ego will not submit. The ego, in order for the ego to submit, to surrender, to melt down, the heart has to take over, and the heart has to truly experience and taste the beautiful names of God, taste the how huge and big and amazing the creation of God is, and how little we are before it, and how needy we are of it. So these people, because they didn't do this, they cannot be truly believing in God, and therefore they don't really worship God alone. They cannot worship God alone without any partners, as we were told in the ayah. When they are believing and worshiping in God, it's always together with partners, things that they think are necessary for them to get what they want, to get the joy, the happiness, the fulfillment that they are longing for. They also proved so far that they are not in touch with their own soul, that soul that is going to recognize that it is abd, that soul that we were told earlier in ayah 7 or 8, I think it was in the beginning, that it is God who breathes of his own soul into us. And so the soul within us already knows its Rabb, already recognizes the beautiful names of God. It is that soul that is amazed at awe and in sajda when it witnesses the miracles of creation within and without, like within the creation. And so they, because they are not in touch with their own soul, they cannot recognize. If they were, let's say, if they were in touch with their soul, they would recognize that they themselves are the recipient of divine sustaining and divine creativity and divine blessing right here and now. They are not creators, they are not sustainers, they are not Rabbs, they are not gods, they cannot create anything. Whatever we mix together and something comes up is, as Isa alayhi salam says, bi-idhni Rabbi, by God's leave, it becomes something. We mix flour and water, it becomes dough. We put it in heat, and it becomes bread. A new being is being created. I didn't do anything. I'm just waiting. If I forget it in the oven, there will be no bread. There will be a piece of carbon. So they are not in touch with their own souls, and so they cannot truly feel, truly accept, truly witness, and that they are being the recipient of divine creating. Even when we think we are doing something, it is a blessing. It is being done unto us. No one is a creator. We have no control over anything, not even over our own life. Remember in Ayah 5, we were told, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ. He governs the amr, the affair, from heaven onto earth. It means everything. God alone is the sustainer of all things, is repeated again and again in the Quran. He is the sustainer of all things, all beings, all existence, and he alone has control and power over all things. People and beings can only wait for the grace of their Rabb. So therefore, we're told to turn away from such people. It means turn away from such an attitude, from any culture, any civilization that is built on this attitude. Like we're living in an age where it is an ego culture, an ego civilization. And so it is so, it's the dominant culture. So it may not always be easy. That's why we need to have our own like islands of support groups, so that we remind ourselves, وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Remind each other of the truth and remind each other of being perseverant and patient, because it's not always easy. We need to make that effort, especially in the beginning, until we gain some momentum. And think of it, the true believers, they were described in Ayah 15 and 16 of this surah, Surah al-Sajdah. And we were told the people who truly believe in our ayat are only those, when they are reminded of the ayat, they fall prostrating and glorify God with praise, and they are not arrogant. And in 16, we were told when they are in their beds, they are restless and they call unto their sustainer in fear and hope, and spend from what we provide for them. So these people cannot, the true believer, the way they are, the way they live, they cannot be together with the guilty. The two paths are not compatible. There is no neutral stance. Is something that I repeat all the time because it's repeated again and again in the Quran. We're either following the path of truth or swerving from it. There is one true path, all the other paths are away from the truth. So we can't follow truth and falsehood at the same time. There is no such a thing. We're doing either or. And that's why in the Quran, in many places, but in one of them, for instance, that came to my mind, in Surah 43, Ayah 36, we are told, وَمَنْ يَعْشُ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ نُقَيِّدْ لَهُ شَيْطَانًا فَهُوَ لَهُ قَرِينٌ. Whoever turns blindly away from the remembrance of the Rahman, the compassionate, we assign to him a Satan who is then a companion to him. If you turn away from dhikr ar-Rahman, from remembering God and mentioning him and seeing him in everything, then you will find yourself following the path of shaitan. The path of shaitan is the path of forgetting about who you are and who your Rabb is. That's why it says here, turn away from these people, because these people, they insist on being arrogant. They insist on not surrendering. So you don't want to try to please them or be sometimes with them or something. No. It means stick to your path. Actually, in the next ayah, the next surah, the following surah, Surah Al-Ahzab, Surah al-Sajdah is Surah 32. In Surah 33, which is Surah Al-Ahzab, in the first 3 ayats, what are we told? O Prophet, remain conscious of God and defer not to the disbelievers and the hypocrites, for God is truly all-knowing, wise. And follow what is revealed unto you from your Rabb, your sustainer. Truly God is aware of all that you do. And place your trust in God alone, for God is sufficient as trustee. It means none is as worthy of trust as God. The original is يا أيها النبي اتق الله ولا تطع الكافرين والمنافقين إن الله كان عليما حكيما واتبع ما يوحى إليك من ربك إن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. So you see how it is what is said in the last ayah of Surah 32 is explained in the beginning of Ayah 33. And as I mentioned each time, the surahs, the chapters of the Quran are all connected to each other. They explain each other, they follow each other. So then we are asked to wait. And for the believers, for the true believers, to wait in anticipation for rahmah, for mercy, for divine mercy, in anticipation for hidayah, for guidance, because we look for guidance, because we don't rely on ourselves. We don't imagine that we know what to do. So we are always praying and asking for guidance and following the guidance, because it's our only rope to the right path. And we don't want to, we hold on to it well. We don't want to leave it or lose it. And we wait for the signs of the truth to unfold every day even more clearly. We wait for the day when the truth will be apparent to all and no one can deny it. We wait for the day of judgment when justice will be done and the oppressors and the tyrants and the persecutors will be requited for all the injustices and atrocities they are committing. We wait for meeting all our beloved in paradise. We wait for meeting our beloved, our Rabb. And behold, so it says, and wait. And behold, they are waiting. The disbelievers, the guilty, they are also waiting. They are waiting with dread of death, because deep down, they know they deserve what's awaiting for them. Or even if deep down they know, but even superficially, They are uncertain of what's awaiting for them on the other side. It is darkness. Death, it seems like the gate onto darkness. It is darkness upon darkness. That's why they abhor remembering. They hate remembering death. They don't want you to even use the word death. Although there is no way to avoid it, it is the reality of everything. So that's a big contradiction right there. That's a red flag. Whereas for the true believers, death is the passage, it's like, or the birth into the eternal world of Akhirah, eternal world of the beautiful names of God, the world of paradise. And remember who these the true believers not the true believers. The true believers, we did go through them. Let's, I think it's good to remember who these disbelievers or the guilty, they were called the guilty, al-fasiqeen. They've been described all along this surah. And remember, their description started in ayah 2 and 3. And in ayah 2 and 3, what did these people do? In ayah 2, we were told the sending down of the book, without a doubt, is from Rabbul Alameen, the sustainer of all the world. Yet, in ayah 3, yet they say, so they will be later, will be called the guilty. They say, he has fabricated it, the book. Nay, it is the truth. The book is the truth from your sustainer, that you may warn a people to whom a warner has come, no warner has come before you, so that they may be guided. So in the beginning, to be in doubt is okay, but it says, okay, but like, follow it so that you may be guided. At least try it. And right after, so these people are people who doubt that the Quran is God's address to humanity. And generally, we talked about it, it means that they are in doubt that God speaks to people through scriptures revealed to his messengers. And the answer to this doubt is given to us in the following ayat. I only share 3 because it carries on about the creation of human being from clay and everything. But in ayah 4, 5, 6, we're told God has who. So who is this God who is sending down the book? Who is the truth is coming from him? And how can you doubt that he is speaking and sending you the truth and sending you the truth as guidance, the book as guidance? This God is the one who has created the heavens and the earth and all that is between them in 6 aeons and is established on the throne of his almightiness. You have no protector and no intercessor other than him. Will you not then pay heed? In 5, we're told he governs, and also in Arabic, you understand, he has control over everything. The affair from heaven onto earth, then it ascends unto him in a day whose measure is as 1,000 years of your reckoning. Such is the knower of the unseen and the seen, the Almighty, the merciful, and it carries on. So right after saying that they are in doubt, God describes himself. He describes himself how? With his creation, because that's what I see around me. So why am I repeating this right now at the end? Because from this surah, it's clear that it is extremely important for us to keep in mind that we need to have no doubt about the Quran, because people who have doubt are people who end up like this. And if we don't want to be among them, it means we start from the beginning, no doubt about the Quran. Actually, no doubt about the sending down of the Quran, that the book is being sent down, and the sending down is a tanzil, a process, it's still going on in the form of the Quran, in the form of the creation. The ayat are still being revealed to us, the rain is still raining every day. How do we make sure that we have no doubt about it, that the book is being sent down in the form of the Quran, the ayat of the Quran, the ayat in creation, by following the guidance in both. Because if we follow the guidance of the Quran, we'll end up following the guidance in the creation. And it is only when we start, it's like a map. How do I know this map is truly leads to the treasure? Go and follow, use it. Follow the map. If there is no treasure, you can throw it away. But what if there is truly a treasure? And the treasure here is the truth, the beautiful names of God, our reality, our true future, the world of Akhirah. So by following the guidance in the Quran and therefore in the creation, we start experiencing it firsthand. That's where the Shahada starts happening. We start witnessing, observing, witnessing, confirming that truly it is guidance from God, that truly it is being sent from God. It is تنزيل الكتاب لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين. And so it is a guidance, it is being sent from the sustainer of all the world, from our sustainer, our creator. And this path needs inner work. We have to get rid of our false belief, our arrogance about and take outer action. And the outer action is taught to us in the Quran. For instance, the true believers, what they did, we are told what they do. They recognize the ayat of God and they fall in prostration. Prostration, not always physically as well as all the time, physically as in a hal. They are in a state of prostration before the creation. They are in awe. They are amazed. And they do this, they do that, and at the end, they give from what we give them. So when they give, they give a smile, they give charity, they give knowledge, they help someone, whatever they do, they give it from knowingly, mindfully. They are aware that it's not from them, it's from their Rabb. It is a gift unto them. They do it, Bismillah, in the name of God. So it means these people are really conscious of who they are as Abd, and therefore as of who their Rabb is, that God is truly their Rabb. And for this, in order to follow this path, to do the inner work and the outer action, we need lots of patience, lots of perseverance. And that's why we also need lots of help. That's why we are told to keep the company of the righteous people, people who we want to be like. We follow their path, we read their whatever they left if they are not alive, but we also want a community, a living community, so that people remind each other and help each other. And we also need to be constantly seeking help from God. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. That's why we are told to repeat in the Fatiha, in Surah Al-Fatiha, during the prayers, the Salat, for instance, we are constantly asking, seeking for help, because we worship only you, and therefore we seek help from you alone. And that seeking help from God alone is itself a ibadah, inshallah. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم بحق القرآن وبحق من أنزل عليه القرآن نور قلوبنا بنور القرآن واجعل القرآن شفاء لنا من كل داء ومونسا لنا في حياتنا وبعد مماتنا واجعله لنا في الدنيا قرينا وفي القبر مونسا وفي القيامة شفيعا وعلى الصراط نورا ومن النار سترا وحجابا وإلى الجنة رفيقا وإلى الخيرات كلها دليلا وإماما بفضلك وجودك وكرمك وإحسانك ورحمتك يا أكرم الأكرمين ويا أرحم الراحمين وصل وسلم على من أنزلت عليه القرآن وأرسلته رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين صلاة ترضيك وترضيه وترضى بها عنا يا رب العالمين آمين 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 والحمد لله رب العالمين Inshallah, this is the end of Surah al-Sajdah. Do you have any, like, how was your journey with this surah? I know it's a little bit late, but since it's the end, I think it'll be nice to hear something.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Dr. Yamina. This has been my first, Quran study with you, like as a whole surah. So maybe I'm like, a newer student in the class. I think I've benefited in many ways, but one of the ways that I want to point out is just the emphasis on the meaning of the signs, and then at the end of even when you read, you feel like I don't know, and then the need to know more. What else? And then if I can just ask something. So when we are talking about the reflection part, how often do we need to do, when we say that, we need to reflect, is it, and then taking the ayah, is it the reflection when I'm doing the ayah, or every time the rain falls, you go through this process? Or
that's ideally.
Ideally.
When we study the ayah, it may be raining, it may not be. Now, once I internalize it, I really become familiar with it, and now I can start when it's raining. If I am really into it, I am supposed to make the intention. When I see it, I recognize, oh, this was the ayah, and check within myself. Do I see that God is sending? In the beginning, probably not. I will still be seeing water, rain is raining, and that's it. So I will start going back to the ayah, back and forth, and finding what's going on when I look carefully at the rain. What is happening within me? Something starts being revealed onto me. I'm being inspired with different feelings of awe, and that will help me in the path. And so now, the more I do this carefully, the more I will enjoy it. Because if I do it with the heart, if I stay with those emotions and milk them as much as possible, they are feelings and emotions that the soul feeds on, because those emotions are emotions that are coming from the encounter with the divine beauty, with the divine power being manifested in the creation, in this case, in the process of rain. And so the soul recognizes the divine power, the divine knowledge, the divine beautiful names, the beauty of the rain and everything. And so we stay there and we let the soul let it nourish itself through that recognition, through that encounter. And the more that happens, the more the heart and the soul starts gaining strength. And so it won't be like, oh, how many times do I have to do this? Each time I see the rain, sometimes you won't have the time to give it actually time. But even when you don't have time, if you do it properly again and again, even when we don't have time or we just going through the rain, you will still recognize it. It's like the soul will recognize the ayah, the angels bearing the rain, because the soul sees and communicates with the angelic parts of the creation, the part that brings the divine command directly down. And we talked about it in ayah 5 and 6 or something like that, when the divine commands comes from God into the earth and it becomes creation. Mm-hmm. So they are like the two sides of the coin. What looks as creation to us, when we look at it from with our soul, we recognize the angelic part, the angels on the other side. So even when we don't have time to stop and reflect, the more we reflect, the more the soul will. It's like you see a beloved friend, you don't have time to speak to them that day, but you still are happy. You saw them on the way. You say just, Salam alaikum, alaikum salam, how are you? And carry on. You don't have time to have a cup of tea together. And so the more we do it this way, we won't ask how many times, because each one will, maybe not everyone will reflect on the rain. Could be reflecting on something else, but reflection will be something that we really, really enjoy. It's like a meal. You will feel hungry. It's like we don't ask how many meals. Well, we may ask for health reasons, but like generally, we don't say, do I have to eat like twice a day or 3 times? Isn't that too much? If you feel, you said, feeling the need to know the need, the more we are in touch with our needs, the more we start appreciating and enjoying the reflections, that time of reflection, that time of bonding. So practically, everyone will work it on its own. Theoretically, the more, the better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it's kind of a bit late now, but maybe if I can offer a comment and ask a question, maybe not to follow up with that. The reason it seems burdensome to kind of reflect over and over again, is it because we think that we don't get something new, but we're repeating the same thing? Like I was trying to think of an analogy as you were speaking, Dr. Yamina. Maybe like, let's say when you get to know someone, you're not first friends, you know, another person, you're being civil and kind, but you don't know if the person is you're gonna be connecting and you're going to be friends. And then at some point you become friends and then you become close friends. And then each time you see this person or you get in touch with this person, you don't say, okay, let me list the reasons why this person, turned from being just a sister, that I will wish well for, to a good friend. Let me go back to my reasons why, like, I felt she's a close friend and we connected. This isn't that kind. This tafakkur that you're saying about rain or other things, maybe it isn't like that I go back and say, well, why did I think that rain is coming down, being sent down instead of just coming down? Why do I think it's more like now I'm welcoming the rain as being sent. So like when I interact with my friend, I don't necessarily go back to the reasons why, what made me feel that she's genuine, what made me feel that she really understands me.
So you are saying it's like,
this
that
question.
That question that we ask is, we're asking it before we tread that path. If we tread that path, it's like someone says, why should I eat, let's say something that they are really going to love once they eat it. Especially the more they eat it, the more they will crave it. But let's say in the beginning they say, why should I really eat this and things? Or the friends like this. So that's why in the beginning, just start it. And in the beginning, you will need to make the decision. You will need to trust. And like if someone tells you that this is the closest path, and it's not only the easiest path to fulfillment and eternal joy, the alternative is there is nothing. And it makes sense. Even before we try, it makes sense because the other path does not answer the biggest question, which is transience, death. How can you, if you can't explain death to me, then forget about everything. Because if there is nothing after death, if death is the goal of everything, why should we even bother about it? There will be no purpose, no true meaning. So once we are at least intellectually or like reason says, let's try this path, then make that, trust other people, trust the prophet, trust, even if you don't know God yet and you don't trust him yet, trust and decide and choose and do it. If you are doing it properly, the more you do it, the more you will enjoy it. And yeah, you can use why not any example, whether friend or for anything that is going to unfold as we get to know better, will inshallah explain at least partially the situation. True. Thank you for sharing. So but just start, and inshallah you will see how tasty and reflecting and tasting the beautiful names of God is for the soul. In the beginning, it may need a little bit, that you need patience and you need a little bit of will power, but eventually there will be a momentum and it will be going, inshallah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the challenge is to hold the both together because,
yes,
especially
in the beginning,
or maybe even throughout, like, with the friend metaphor, I find it helpful because it talks about a threshold that you cross over and you don't consider that person as, I'm not sure if we are close friends. It's just a person. There's a threshold that you cross, but at the same time, it's in that iman journey or seeing science journey. It is not just you cross a threshold, but it's also like shirk is always lurking, and we always have to come back and undo the shirk. So it's more like the hunger metaphor that you gave earlier, that you don't say, oh, I'm not sure if I want to have lunch tomorrow again because I'm tired of having lunch. No, because by the time it's lunch,
You will see, the need will be renewed.
So it isn't like, if you eat enough lunch today or for 40 days in a row, then the next 10 days you may not need.
Or maybe water is better because someone may say, I don't eat too much or something. But
okay,
water,
whatever a meal.
yeah.
I mean, so look, there's that, you eat, you're full, but then you're hungry again. So then
the need is renewed.
So then we see the
Need
sign,
is
but
the
then we
key.
fall into ghafla again, or relative ghafla, not maybe full, but relative ghafla, relative, shirk. It looks like things are happening by themselves. It looks like the causes are giving me things. And then so you come back again to the science. So yeah, I don't know, like maybe there's no perfect metaphor, but it is both. It gets easier, but then it is also
food or water is good because it emphasizes that the need is being renewed, and that's exactly, it is through our needs. The more we get in touch with our needs, our need, not only physical need, but we have other needs. The more we get in touch with them, the more we want to ask, should I drink water again and again? Isn't that repetitive?
Mm-hmm.
You will, if you are thirsty, you will want to drink again, and you will appreciate it. So be aware of your need. That's why I say when you feel that, oh, milk it, stay there, because then you will be able to feel the need for feeling, being in the presence of the divine, being aware that I have a Rab, I am not an orphan, I am not on my own, I have a protector, I am a guest, I'm just not happen to be thrown around here. Those needs of the Ruh, of the spirit, we need to listen to them. They are there, and but we're not aware of them. They come out as illnesses of the Ruh, as being bored, nothing really satisfies me, being anxious, being fearful, and we don't know even why we are feeling that way. And nothing we do really satisfies us. It only makes us forget them. It's like symptomatic. It's like taking a cough medicine. But why am I coughing? I don't know. Something like that. The need, inshallah, is key.
Okay, Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Yamina.
Thank you for sharing this.
So we stop here on that note.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, we'll continue.
And inshallah, you all pray for each other and for everyone. And lots of istighfar. Remember, in times of hardships, istighfar even more than usual. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Fi aman.